live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. Over on Rumble, of course. Yes, unpause and then repause. Sorry for the delay today. I slept in, actually. Shit, I was asleep at noon, honestly. And had some fun, actually, listening to music. I just got into it. I've been listening to Take Me Away by Blue Oyster Cult a lot lately, so that's one of my new favorite songs. I think I'll put it on the top 10 list. Maybe I should do like a top 10 list of songs. I also wanted to talk about the biggest scams of history. I think I'll put that in a different video, though. I also want to talk about Tim Walz, actually, because this scandal is so monumental at this point. It boggles the mind, honestly, that this could actually happen in a highly regulated state like Minnesota, which means corruption is obviously an aspect. With regards to the billions of dollars, and I think it's just the tip of the iceberg that actually has been seen. I have a feeling that there's a lot more waste, fraud, and abuse than what we're already seeing. This is probably going to become a death spiral, so to speak, politically. It's going to be very, very interesting. It'll be hilarious. So Tim Walz is trying to defend himself. There's this daycare video. It's like, they're getting tens of millions of dollars. There's like a couple kids there. Ta-da! That's pretty expensive daycare services now, isn't it? Again, ineptitude, corruption, or a combination of the two. We'll be talking about that in more detail. I did cover it this morning, but I also wanted to cover fire Pam Bondi. Come on. Pam Bondi is not doing her job. She's not really interested in looking into this, nor the Epstein files, by the way. I'm beginning to be concerned about her job performance. Normally, in a private sector, people generally get fired when they don't do their job. Pam Bondi seems to still have a job, and I'm not 100% sure why. If there's one failing of the Trump administration at this point, it's retaining Pam Bondi, and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, of course. Trump administration orders nearly 30 U.S. ambassadors to leave their posts. Now, of course, they have deputary ambassadors in these posts as well. The liberal legacy media is saying, oh my god, these ambassadorial posts have been vacated because Donald Trump doesn't like the job that they're doing. He's being a tyrant. Oh my god. No, really what he's doing is relieving people from their jobs because they're not doing them properly. But you wouldn't know that if you read the New York Times, that's for sure. Javier Milei. I'm convinced mine is the best government in history. In Argentina, I would have to agree with you, Javier. You've done an excellent job. When you look at the statistics, it boggles the mind how he was able to actually accomplish really an economic miracle more than anything else. Trump did it for the United States. Milei is doing it there. Now you have the possibility of it happening in regards to Chile, actually, as well. It's hysterical. Both ends of the continents, the American hemisphere, are going far right. I mean, far right by the standards that have been set by people who are far left, anyway. In other words, sanity more than anything else. That's what Javier Milei has introduced to Argentina. If you can manage to stabilize the Argentine economy after, 50 years of Peronist socialism? Actually, I think it was even more than 50 years. I think it was closer to 60. If you can manage to make that work, then it should be fairly easy to stabilize the economy of the average sane nation. Milei just, he does it better. I like this article, by the way, it's from the Telegraph. So keep in mind, this is a left-wing publication. And it's talking about how he has his office dark and cold and stuff like that, and grins maliciously and stuff. But even they cannot cast him off as having done a bad job. It's impossible, because he self-evidently didn't. So we'll be talking about that too. How deepfakes could lead to doomsday. This is a hyperbolic article. This is another one of these fear-mongering articles with regards to AI generation. It makes absolutely no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. So mostly we're going to be criticizing the article itself, as opposed to fixating on the stupid idea. Deepfakes are going to convince some leader that a dirty bomb has gone off and there will be a nuclear war. Come on, dude. Can you get with the program? This is not 1965 anymore. We're not afraid of having a nuclear war because somebody generated an unkind image on Grok or something like that. It makes no sense. We'll be picking that apart. But anyway, good afternoon to all the clankers out there. Indeed. So we do have some good news to cover. It's just there's not many news stories, actually, at the moment. I mean, we can cover the ICE arrests. There is nothing criminal, illegal, or alien about skin color. This is an opinion piece, by the way, from the USA Today. No, what a surprise. Almost sounds like a Joy Reid article. Yes, quite clearly, ICE is profiling people based on their skin color. Yes, indeed. It happens all the time. Nobody else ever gets queried about their citizenship status. Oh, that's right. They're only getting queried at all if there's some other potential criminal complaint. ICE is not going into random neighborhoods and raiding people unless there is actual due cause. Do I like law enforcement? After my own personal run-ins, well, for the most part, they were respectful. I'm not a big fan of the hard hand of the law, so to speak. I'm no thin blue liner. I'm a chaotic neutral. You probably understand that by now. But in the case of the ICE raids, it's a little bit different. We might get to that. And then, of course, China is doing drills around Taiwan in a blatant provocation, while its state-run media services blame the West and say, oh my God, your fixation on Taiwan, you're trying to overrun China. I don't think that anyone here wants to overrun China. I don't think that that's actually a thing, but apparently that's a claim that's being made. And it makes absolutely no sense when you think about it. Yes, Enley, you were respectful of the police in your arrest video. Pro tip, if you try to do the First Amendment audit sort of thing, you might not get as good of treatment when you're in the holding cell. Just saying. Connect 200, the Fed printed 40 billion thoughts. Yeah. Sorry, I'm a little bit congested today, actually. I'm not sick or anything like that. I don't know exactly what's going on. It must be just the dry air, I guess. We did have an ice storm the other night. So it was really humid, but then it flash froze, and now everything's covered in a sheen of ice. So it's probably absorbing all of the moisture from the air or some shit like that. I'm not 100% sure. Last speaking. Hey, Sticks. Ping us. Hey, ping us. One of the epic memes of all time, by the way. If you don't know what ping us is, you should look up Dr. Robotnik ping us. It would be a good idea. Evil white clown punk. Sticks got AIDS? No, not yet. Sigil, yeah. Being an asshole while being arrested is a fast way to finding out how much they're allowed to fuck with you if they're willing to do the paperwork. Exactly. If the cuffs are on, you must demur. If you're not going to fight back, then, you're going to have to go with the flow at some point. Connect 200. Inflation might rise due to the printing. Well, if it's only 40 billion, that's probably not going to really inflate things much. We're talking a multi-trillion dollar economy at this point, so, it bumps it up by 0.1 or something like that. Probably not a big problem. We're going to talk about Tim Walz first. Tim Walz pushes back on Minnesota fraud allegations following viral daycare video. Independent journalist Nick Shirley documented visits to facilities that allegedly received millions in state funding. Guess what was happening at those facilities that received so much money? Virtually nobody was there. In some cases, I believe they actually locked the door on her from even going into the facilities. So you're getting like $10 million a year taxpayer funding, and you serve 2 meals. But on paper, you serve 200,000 meals or something like that. It turns out that this is a very systemic case in Minnesota. As I pointed out earlier, I believe that the scope of these investigations is actually insufficient. If it's happening in the Somali community, it's probably happening in other insular communities, right? If it's happening in Minnesota, it's probably happening in other states. How many hundreds of billions of dollars do you think have been squandered on programs such as this? Effectively, liberals should be coming out and complaining about this. It literally looks no different than the shell corporation system. I set up a business that bounces money back and forth between another business. On paper, we're making lots of money. We're embezzling it all. Ha ha ha. And because the government doesn't really apparently check whether we're actually qualified to be doing what we're doing, we're getting taxpayer money. I'm glad to know that some of my tax money went to some random jihadist in Minnesota. I'm really glad about this. Although, you know what? I'd rather it go to them than to bomb Yemenis or something like that. So there's at least one saving grace. I always try to look on the positive side. There's always a silver lining to every dark cloud, and trust me, Tim Walz is staring down an awful lot of dark clouds at the moment. But I wanted to talk also about Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi is not doing her job. Trump needs to fire her. I think that this is a unifying feature, by the way, of U.S. politics at the moment. Liberals don't like her because she's associated with Trump. Republicans don't like her because she's not doing her job. Independents don't like her because they're intelligent enough to know she's retarded. Pam Bondi needs to go. This is dead weight on the administration. I would fire her before I would even fire Patel. And I would fire him on day one if I were president of the United States, too. Hey, you're not looking into the files? You're not doing what I say? Well, then fuck you. Fuck off. As far as Bondi goes, though, she comes out and says, I've got the Epstein papers on my table right now. Okay, can we see them? Well, yeah, you can see some of them in heavily redacted form. Oh, wait, you didn't even redact them properly so that a bunch of liberals were capable of unredacting them with a PDF file. That was a really funny one. Oh, my God. I mean, and this is not Trump's fault. In this particular instance, it's just Pam Bondi's fault. Go after Tim Walz. I know that they've come out and said, well, there will be criminal referrals. Okay. Don't tell me that there will be criminal referrals. Fucking file them. By the way, if you're gonna, attack someone legally, it's usually unwise to warn them beforehand. You should have just filed the fucking paperwork and said, don't worry, we're working on it. File the paperwork and then haul him in. Tim Walz is a criminal. I said this morning, he's either inept, corrupt, or both. I think that it's both in his particular case. He looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy he looks like a male feminist. That's the closest approximation I can give. It reminds me, literally, when I see him, it reminds me of that one cartoon where the feminist robot is commanding this pudgy dude with, the pink suspenders to try to use some computer program to, pre-crime people for sexual perversion. And then in the end, when he pulls up a picture of, the next perp, it's actually a picture of him doing the male feminist face, which is so iconic. Yeah, Tim Walz reminds me of that, actually. This is Mike. Clank, motherfuckers! Switched over to Rumble so I could say some things YouTube would never let me. Fuck, retard, I can't utter that other one. God damn it, and Joe Biden did not get 81 million votes. Well, you actually can acknowledge the truth about the election now on YouTube. That rule is gone now. It is true. Joe Biden did not get 81 million votes. He lost the election. He just happened to take office because the powers that be were able to rig the system enough. This time, they weren't able to because Kamala Harris would not have been believable as a victorious candidate. Tried pointing this out, but, Roger Dodger, the GOP in Congress needs to weaken the lower courts. True. Yeah, the lower courts have really become the problem, especially at the federal level, because, Trump takes a piss and they declare it unconstitutional. It happens all the time, at this point. I see we have pre-59 Cuban there as well. Frequent commenter. Happens all the time. Let's get to our sponsors before we get to the rest of the news. Again, I'll probably only get to 4 news stories today. I'm a little bit rushed because I do have to go out actually to the store I wanted my dad got me actually some pho. Actually, some of these noodle packets and stuff like that for Christmas. And I really wanted to get scallions and a red pepper and stuff like that. It's really good, by the way. I mean, it was excellent. I had never had pho before. I mean, if this is how good the instant stuff is, I can only imagine if you get it in a restaurant. But, and I wanted to add some meat to it, like maybe some sweet pork or something like that. So I'm going to be experimenting a little bit. Yummy noodles. Yeah, man, I can actually digest them unlike ramen noodles, so, it works. Soul food. No, pho is delicious, man. Yeah, try it. Let's get to our sponsors, though. Before I make myself hungry thinking about food, I've got to talk about other things. We have cultivated-mind.com, where you can get mushroom pills. Take them every single day. It helps with your energy level and improves vitality overall. It's probably the only reason I'm still alive. Plus, you can also get doggy dose, which I affectionately call doggo dose, which you can give to your doggo. I actually did crumble up a little bit of it the other day. Cats will eat it. Yep, they enjoy doggy dose. Well, it didn't last very long, so it seems to be good for them too. 6 dual-activated mycological extracts, actually. Fungal extracts. Mushroom extracts. Delicious. And it actually smells good. Most doggy snacks, they have that weird, like, stale, almost like lard-like smell, usually. This one doesn't have that problem. We have BiltongUSA.com, the land of Anton's meat and eat. You can get Wagyu, you can get Angus, you can get bison, you can get venison, you can get Cabanassi, one of my favorites, Rooiworst, which is something that a lot of people haven't had because it's a South African staple. Also imports, like Bovine and Vegemite. And we've got Stick, Sex, and Hammer mugs, tumblers, and shirts available as well. Should grab a couple. It's good. And then finally, jamandbean.com. That is JAMNB.com. I'm William Check. I will be drinking coffee later. Just joking. Oh, I love the smell. Even, this is basically the display model here. I'm almost out of the actual coffee. So I'm hoping that more is sent before I have to tie into this one, because then I'm going to have to display the empty package, I suppose. Yeah, Jam and Bean does it best. They're the only company that I've ever seen that makes a decaf coffee that's actually edible. My parents, neither of them drinks caffeinated beverages, so they brew the decaf coffee from Jam and Bean usually. And it's actually tasty. Like, you know how decaf coffee can get flavorless? Well, this one doesn't have that problem, so, if you're into decaf, I never understood it myself. I like that caffeine jolt. Trust me, very, very much. I was that dude that was jittering one time at work because I drank 3 energy drinks back to back. Man, I was like, my heart was racing. Also, there's lots of tea available. Pirate's Plunder, Yunnan Jig, The Healer. Yeah, you should probably try all of them because all of them are good. Let me see here. Hee. FB 3490. Judges aren't kings. New weekend rally. Lol. Yeah, they're acting like kings, though. Copium poppies. Pho is good, but it's not pronounced pho. It's pronounced like fuck without the CK. Oh, so pho? Oh. I thought it was pronounced pho. My foe, the digestive system. Spike. I'm guessing with the Somali love and fraud by the Democrats, it's the money goes to Somalia, then back to the Democrats in America. Plus, why do they keep saying they built America now? Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't think that there were a lot of Somalians in the United States until fairly recently, but apparently, when I drive down the road, I have to thank a Somalian for making the road because white people are too retarded to do it. Makes absolutely no sense. Their revisionism of history is noted. It's sort of like they say, well, Islam kind of built America. Thomas Jefferson had a copy of the Quran. Yeah, and the first military action was killing a bunch of Muslims in North Africa, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. You've probably heard that line. That was under Thomas Jefferson. No, he studied Islam. He understood Islam. That's why he decided to invade these countries, actually. But revisionism aside, it's still very, very funny. Joe 9611. It's pronounced pho. There's a restaurant near me called Pho Long. Also a Chinese grocery store named Hung Dong. Well, North Korea has the No Dong missile. That's their intermediate range ballistic missile, actually. It's called the No Dong. It's literally the No Dong. When I first read that, I mean, they had the missile chart. I remember back when North Korea was kind of menacing the Japanese. Of course, you get memes and shit like that proliferating. One of them was this chart that showed, the different kinds of missiles that they were fielding. And their intermediate range missile, like the most dangerous one to a country like Japan that's relatively close, is called the No Dong missile. Meanwhile, it looks like a big dick, so yeah. This is Mike. I saw a Vietnamese restaurant named Phu Ke one time. Good stuff. Yeah, Thomas the Mathman. Kim Jong-un has no dong. That's why he is mad. Copium poppies. When I was a kid, I knew a kid with a speech impediment who couldn't pronounce the CK in fuck, so he pronounced it fuck you. Lol. Jesus. We always devolve into random bands on this channel. As anyone who is a newcomer to the channel knows. Oh yeah, barbecue pork ribs. That sounds really, really good. On the bone, by the way. I do not eat boneless ribs. But when it's cooked and all that marrow drips into the meat, oh god, if it's properly marinated, it's delicious. My dad used to work at the Holiday Inn, right, as a chef. He had been a chef for like 30 years before that. And sometimes he'd get a whole fucking rack for free. I mean, they would just be like, yeah, take some ribs. And he would grab them up. Man, those were good. Delicious. Absolutely spectacular fucking ribs. At the Holiday Inn. These days, you probably can't get them at the Holiday Inn. It's probably halal. Spike, I'll never forget the day the Somalis defended Bunker Hill against the British, or how they defeated the rebels at Gettysburg and freed the slaves. This is Mike. Are you purposefully not reading my shit correctly on purpose? The guy just told you how to pronounce it. In fact, two people did. Yeah, foo is, I guess, the pronunciation. I'm sorry, I have a Connecticut River accent. I can't help it. FB, check it out. There's a real estate boom in Somalia now. The TSA says they bring in suitcases of cash daily. Yeah, I like how people used to target libertarians by saying, well, if you don't like government, you should go to Somalia. Yeah, so you can be under oligarchic religious law more than anything else. Taco Woman's Sandy Ravage. There's a Vietnamese place called Cafe Bich Nha. I would love to eat there. That sounds fun. Joe, seriously, look it up. It's a great restaurant in Houston. Yeah. Fuck you. Something Wong. You remember that when there were all those people that had the fake identities that were actually working as airline pilots? One of them was called Something Wong, and I can't remember the others. It's just absolutely bizarre. Never made sense, but it was really, really funny. Hey, no, none of them ever crashed a plane. They, technically speaking, they did their job. Trump administration orders nearly 30 U.S. ambassadors to leave their posts. Now, this is unprecedented, but it's not a problem. What's happened is that some of the ambassadors weren't doing their job. They weren't obeying orders. Well, sucks to be you. Then you have to be fired, effectively. Or, yeah, we'll have you shuffle paperwork around. Their deputies have already been on the job, will be able to take over, and presumptively will do a better job than the ones that have been relieved. Now, This actually reminded me of something. You all know that I'm fond of Vlad the Impaler. I think he was one of the greatest European leaders, actually, along with Baldwin IV and Charles Martel, Olga of Kiev, and a few others. Charlemagne, kind of. King Edward, kind of. King George, whatever. But Vlad's one of my favorites. Now, when he took power, he summoned all of the nobles, which would be a stand-in here. It's only kind of a metaphor for the situation. Summoned them to his castle, and he wined and dined them, and he asked them how many rulers they had seen in their lifetime. And they mentioned quite a few, because there had been a quick succession of Ottoman pawns on the throne. And when he heard this, he's like, well, you know, really the only last real leader that was actually Wallach was my father. And now I'm the leader. All these other pretenders, and you call them leaders at all? Because, you know, they got killed in rapid succession because the Ottomans kept replacing them. So he had them all fucking killed. And then he replaced their estates with lower nobles. He replaced them with people that were more loyal to him. That's exactly what Trump is doing here. I mean, it's a naked move. We can't deny that. Justified? Yes. In this case, I believe that it is. But that's exactly what he's doing. Let's not make any pretense about this. He's absolutely replacing the old guard with the new guard. Which is great, actually. Let's see. This is Mike. Foo is pronounced fa as in fuck. Okay, fa. I thought it was faux. I mean, it looks like faux. That would be the way you'd pronounce it in an anglicized manner. Copium poppies. If you can pronounce fuck, you can pronounce faux. Fa. You just take off the CK. It's not foo. Alright, so it's pho. I ate pho the other day. Jesus Christ. Everyone has a problem with my pronunciation. Dude, again, I'm from the Connecticut River Valley. Only a few 100,000 people actually have my particular accent and dialect. So, you know, I'm a fucking hillbilly. You expect me to pronounce ethnic foods properly? No, that's not gonna work, dude. Shungman Ace, everything is artificial. Society can collapse in 1 hour. True. If the missiles start flying, that's about how long it would take. And it wouldn't be just nukes, dude. It would be biological weapons and chemical warheads as well as standard munitions and dummy missiles, actually. It would be a melee, chaos. Joe, 99% of women in Somalia have type 3 FGM, infibulation. These people. Oh, you mean genital mutilation, I believe. Yeah, I mean, we mutilate the genitals of young males in this country, so I'm no hypocrite. Nobody should be doing that sort of thing. It's retarded. Genital mutilation should be unilaterally banned for both males and females. If you're over 18 and you want to get a labiatomy or a circumcision or something, you should be allowed to do so. If you're under 18, it should not be an option at all, unless there's some sort of health reason why. And 99% of the time it's not health related. Javier Milei, I am convinced mine is the best government in history. He's referring to Argentina, of course. Apparently, he has reduced, in just 2 years, inflation in his country from 25%, which is catastrophic, to 2.5%. Unemployment remains low, costs are falling, wages are growing, and the only thing that this particular article from the Telegraph can fixate on is the fact that he keeps his office dark and cold. Alright, that makes a whole... It's very newsworthy, by the way. The chill inside the president's office of the Casa Rosada is such that Javier Milei, Argentina's eccentric leader, wears a thick undercoat below his suit jacket. I know the feel, but I live in Vermont, so I got a fucking excuse. The curtains are drawn and the lights low, reflecting dimly off the huge golden chainsaw that has pride of place at the end of his cabinet table, and can also be used for self-defense, presumptively, if he needs to. It's probably gassed up and ready to go. You never know with Javier. I would love to meet that dude. God, he sounds fucking fun. Outside, the summer sun shines on Evita Perón's balcony. while in the distance a row of black riot fences cut across Plaza de Mayo in downtown Buenos Aires. One could be forgiven for thinking that Mr. Milei is in hiding, a man under siege, far from it. And then it goes on to talk about how he's basically achieved what was originally conceived of as fucking impossible with the Argentine economy. When he first came in and said, "Afuera!" When he first came in and said, "I'm going to deregulate everything," haha, and getting rid of some of these regulatory bureaus altogether because they don't make sense, they don't need to exist. People thought he'd collapse the economy. Oh, austerity, what a terrible thing. Turns out he managed to bring inflation under general control while not causing spiraling unemployment or any other problems with the economy. Now the economy is actually soaring. The Argentine economy is now one of the fastest growing, actually. It's almost like when government gets out of the way, things get better usually. Because there's a profit motive behind people's actions, and there's a reason for them to try to succeed. If you're under heavy-booted government control, what reason do you have to work harder? It's not like you can get ahead anyway. You're paying out most of your productivity to the fucking government anyway, and most of these regulatory bureaus don't even fucking do anything. If you get those out of the way, though, all of a sudden, there's an impetus. There's an economic impetus to try to succeed. This drags everyone up. This helps everyone in society. There will always be corporations that underpay. There will always be businesses that are corrupt. This is going to happen no matter what economic system that you use. Unless everything is centrally controlled, then you have to worry about government corruption. That's far worse. It's a lot easier to maneuver in a versatile economy when the corruption is at the corporate level. Well, if that corporation's corrupt, then I work for a different corporation. Hopefully one that's a bit better. But if you've got a government reigning over everything, if the government becomes corrupt, there's no alternative other than leaving your country and becoming an asylum seeker. That's a little bit more difficult now, isn't it? Milei understands this. He's been vouching for economic populism now for decades. He's been doing this for a very long time. And he has been successful. That's why he fucking terrifies the globalists, by the way. The fact that he was able to take an economy that ailing, an economy formerly one of the largest, certainly in the American hemisphere, if not the world at large, which had been ruined by decades of socialism, and it only took him 2 years to repair much of that damage? Sort of like Trump's economic miracle, which we were told could never happen by the Krugmans of the world. Then I noticed that Krugman also said that the internet would not be transformative or have any greater impact than the fax machine. Whoops! I think someone made an improper judgment. Javier Milei has done an excellent job and seems to be an excellent person. I like how it also talks about him having back problems and stuff as though that's like news relevant and stuff. They're trying to cast him off as being like a weird dude who is in pain and broods in the dark or something and has like the malevolent smile, sort of casting him off as a crippled Dick Cheney or something. None of these things appear to be true. Wasn't there an assassination attempt on Milei at one point? Or am I misremembering? I don't know. Pre-59 Cuban, I can't even pronounce my own name right, so don't feel bad. Yeah, copium. It's not that you mispronounce words, it's that you claim to be a linguist and often purposely mispronounce shit even when corrected. Also, what accent? Your accent is standard American. No, I have a little bit of the Farmer John drawl from the Connecticut River Valley. It was tempered by my time on this side of Vermont. This has the Hudson Bay accent. That's like the standard American accent for half the country. As opposed to having that southern drawl or something like that. Or like, dude, being like Californian. The Connecticut River Valley has a different accent. It's similar, but it's not exactly the same. So I do pronounce things differently than the average person in the United States. And I don't mispronounce on purpose. I'm really not trying, unless I'm making a joke or something like that. It's just like, I thought it was faux. Now I find out that it's foo. Okay. I'll try to remember that, but, I'm on the opposite coast and you have the same accent as me. Except that us Vermonters, we don't pronounce the T, generally speaking. FB. Free market capitalism, good. Crony and klepto-capitalism, bad. Exactly. Spike. Never forget the day the racist Captain Edward John Smith forced Captain All Inbreed from his port, then crashed the Titanic. Okay. Oh, King of Biltong is here. Hello. That means that we must get too salty. It is important. It must happen. At least twice a day. And you should get your daily dose of Bovrite. It's probably got health benefits or something. I'm going to do some study and find that it prevents heart attacks or some shit. You never know. I don't care if it has health benefits. It's just fucking tasty. Too salty, he will say. Snakes bleed red. Spike your blood pressure. How many Marlboro points do you have, Sticks? None, actually. How deepfakes could lead to doomsday. This is a completely, inconceivably retarded article. Under Foreign Affairs, of course. From foreignaffairs.com. This makes absolutely no sense. The logic is that a world leader with capabilities of launching nuclear weapons could be conceivably fooled by an AI system in order to get them to cause World War III, to cause a nuclear conflict. Or that countries are seriously considering hooking up their nuclear systems to AI without regard to humans being involved in the process of making that decision whatsoever as far as to launch or not launch missiles or whatever, or order the subs to launch. This is inconceivable. We've had a lot of weird fucking situations with regards to nuclear weapons. For instance, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, when a submarine, nuclear armed, lost communication with the Soviet Union. At first, the people on the sub worried that this was because a preemptive nuclear strike had wiped out the Soviet command. And there was a naval ship, by the way, bombarding them with depth charges at the moment. And 2 of the 3 people responsible for deciding whether to launch, and they would have been attacking Florida, actually, at the time, said, hey, we need to attack. One of them, a sub-commander, actually, he said, no, I think we might want to surface and figure out what the hell is going on. Thankfully, cooler heads prevailed, and they realized there was no nuclear attack, and that they would have been causing World War III. Another time, during the Carter administration, and this is absolutely goddamn hysterical. And when I couldn't believe it when I read this story. Back in, I believe it was 77 or thereabouts, somewhere in that range. Somebody from the operational control station popped in the wrong cassette into the computer, and it was running a simulation as though, the bombs are incoming. It was a training program. It was an accident that they popped it in. I don't know exactly what they meant to pop in, but it was the wrong one. All of a sudden, all sectors flashing red. Nukes are on their way. And that dude's probably like, I think he got fired for this. He's like probably sweating. He's like, oh shit, we're gonna die and stuff like that. Thankfully, they realized that it was the training program and that there wasn't actually a nuclear attack incoming. But both of these cases, we came within a hair's breadth of World War III. The same happened actually when the airport was being queried in Yugoslavia, actually over Kosovo, basically, in Serbia. Russians had decided to occupy the airport, and the U.S. command gave the order to the lower commanders that were there in the field, overrun the airport, take it over. And they decided that's not a good idea. If they had gone in, it probably would have caused World War III. We've had multiple instances like this. But deepfakes? I don't think so. The idea that some world leader is going to get fooled by a shooped video of a dirty bomb or something like that. Oh my god, sir, a dirty bomb just went off in our capital. What should we do? Come on, dude. You think that's actually going to happen? He'll never even make it the way to their desk. He'll never even been there. World's Greatest Marches cassette. Yeah, imagine, they still use tapes, actually, in some of these programs, by the way, because they're more reliable. It'd be funny, somebody's working for the CIA or something. They have some sort of machine that's hooked up to the nuclear system, and they accidentally pop in a cassette of, like, Blue Oyster Cult's best hits. And then people are like, what the hell is happening? And then Blue Oyster Cult causes World War III. That would be funny. It would probably also please the band members. They'd probably find it funny. I've been on a Blue Oyster Cult binge. I'll be listening to that later on, actually. I'm going to the store. Take Me Away, one of their greatest hits, 1983. Joe9611, the Ouroboros is just a kinky snake. Yeah, it's sucking its own snake cock. Taco Woman Sandy Ravage, half the population in Somalia is inbred. Sadly, it's more, I believe, actually. I think it has the highest rate in the entire world. This does not surprise me. Your dating options are limited when everyone is living off of a bowl of rice a day. Scott Bullion, 29 degrees tomorrow in South Louisiana. Gumbo weather. Keep up the great work. Ah, Gumbo. Yeah. Enjoy, my man. Should get some turtle soup. Go to Ralph's on the Park. And in New Orleans, and get the turtle soup or the crawfish bisque. That is literally the best food that I've ever tasted in my entire life. It's like I went there, and the person I was with there, she got the crawfish bisque. I got the turtle soup because I knew that I already liked it. It's a 9 out of 10 soup. It's really, really good. But then I tasted just one sip of the bisque, and I'm like, oh my fucking god, this is fucking great. It was the most wholesome, buttery, rich, delicious food that I've ever had in my life. Ralph's on the Park. Go there. Trust me, if you're ever anywhere near New Orleans, go and do that. Also, go on the swamp tour. You know, those like touristy things, they have little, like, places set up, and they have all of the little pamphlets for different things that you can do in the general area. They're actually really, really fun. New Orleans is definitely Tourist 101. Pseudanoid. Fun fact. Styx is perma-banned from Ralph's on the Park. No, I'm not banned from Ralph's on the Park. Actually, I wish I had a bowl of that bisque right now. It's delicious. We'll put it that way. So yeah, deepfakes causing World War III, dude. A cassette tape came closer to causing World War III. It's not gonna happen. The idea that the average world leader, you gotta understand, when things are fed to them, it goes through several levels of people before they actually see it. It's not like Vladimir Putin is shitposting on Twitter and sees a video ostensibly of a dirty bomb going off in Moscow and says, oh shit, well, I guess gotta press the little red button. That's not gonna happen. You're fucking crazy if you think that's gonna happen. It's nuts. Spike. If Tim Walz was the president, then the deep fake would work on that retard. Okay, yeah, if you've got a totally retarded leader, that's different. Also, for your next book, you gotta do it about Democrat claims on Somali's achievements. Yes, I was not aware that I was beholden to Somalians for having built my country. We was Kangs, man. This is We Was Kangs on steroids. I'm surprised there aren't more memes about it at this point. Yeah, Somalians built the road. Somalians built this house. Somalians planted all the trees too, and Vermont wouldn't exist if it weren't for Somalians. We'd be a third world backwater, like Somalia is. Just saying. Copium puppies. Here's an idea. Any country with a high inbreeding percentage, blanket ban on anyone immigrating to the U.S. from said countries unless they willingly get sterilized upon entry into the country. I don't support that. What I would say is a blanket ban without sterilization. Just don't allow them at all. But I wouldn't base it on inbreeding rates, because that doesn't mean that everyone's inbred. I would simply base it on the civic structure. Unfortunately, unless they're seeking asylum because Somalia is a shithole. Somalia is a crippled country. It doesn't really have a functional central government. It's basically a bunch of warlords and shit. I would think that the people there are not capable of really assimilating to Western culture. It's just a fact. It's nothing to do with race or ethnicity. It has to do with a crippling civic situation which cannot be overcome. And the West, by the way, I do support helping the Somalis. In Somalia, of course. Because the West is partially responsible for this. The Kenyans have done more to help the Somali people than we ever have. Kenya, yes, believe it or not, Kenya actually has a reasonably developed economy and a reasonably developed military capability. They can fight the Somali pirates all they want. But again, not my hemisphere, not my problem. I don't believe in making problems worse for people around the world. But that doesn't mean that if there are problems, it's my responsibility to help them. It's just not. Charity starts at home. We've got plenty of problems ourselves, like people living under highway overpasses, having served their country bravely. We have young mothers that are sitting next to a goddamn dumpster with their kids and stuff. Can't we take care of these problems first? I think that would be a priority. King of Biltong, premium biltong from Biltong, USA. High protein, keto friendly, no additives, US sourced beef, authentic South African flavor. Get some now at biltongusa.com. Use code STICKS for 10% off. It's a good idea, trust me. You won't regret it if you buy some currywurst or something like that. Copium poppies. Doesn't matter if they're inbreds individually or not. Records can be faked. Yeah, I mean, you get a point on that one, I suppose. It's just, I don't believe that we should keep people out of the country just because the people around them might be troubled. It should be on an individualistic basis. Honestly, though, with Somalia, I will admit to this, though. With Somalia, I can't imagine that there are a lot of official government records that are actually legitimate there anyway. Like, your government office is basically like a sand dune. It's a mud brick hut next to some sand dunes. That's the mayor's office. We've got all the vital records. We scrawled them on stone tablets. I mean, it's not really funny because the people there are suffering. I mean, imagine being gay in Somalia. Well, you're probably a corpse. Imagine being a woman in Somalia. You got your vagina carved open and your clitoris removed. How wonderful. Wonderful culture. Taco Woman Sandy Ravage. Ralph's had pumpkin and crab bisque the other night. Oh, pumpkin and crab? Damn. Oh, that's right, because you're in that area. Oh, shit. Normally they have the crawdad bisque. Yes, to Dixie Dogs and Joseph. To be clear, yes, there are different levels of female circumcision. By the way, I do not agree with any circumcision of anyone under 18. If they're not old enough to know this is irreversible and it might cause dysfunction, unless there's a medical necessity, and that is very rare, I believe circumcision for children should be banned. But there are different levels of circumcision that apply to females especially. With males, it's just, okay, we remove the foreskin. And it should be illegal. It should be banned outright. I don't give a fuck if somebody says, religious exemption. You're not allowed to mutilate kids in any other way, now are you? Oh yeah, I had my daughter's breasts removed because my religion, my God, says that she has to be flat-chested or something. I don't think that that would fly legally. With females, there are different levels of genital mutilation. And by the way, male circumcision is the same thing. On the first level, it's a reduction of the outer labia. This will not affect the clitoris, the sexual function, or anything. It's basically just for cosmetic purposes. There are plenty of females, by the way, that get this as adults in certain cultures because they think that it looks better, or they think it makes them more sexually attractive. Okay, if you want a labiotomy, that's fine. The second level is the reduction of the hood over the clitoris in attendance with this. So then the labia are reduced, the clitoris is more exposed. Actually, this might actually jumpstart sexual function because then there's no hood over the clitoris, so to speak. So it might actually increase sexual drive. The third level, which is what is practiced in Somalia, has to do with the partial removal of the clitoris. And at the final level, it involves the sewing up of the vagina entirely. No more clit, vagina is completely sewn up, and in order to open it up, so to speak, the man has to effectively forcibly rape her in order to open up the vagina which has been sewn shut. Yeah, it's a pretty grotesque practice, just saying. Yes, exactly, Smokey. And then many times when they're removing the clitoris or debriding it, they use a razor blade. They don't use modern medical procedures at all. It's done with a fucking razor blade. Now, tell me, at what point did we get to the decadent spot where we refuse to declare something to be uncivilized? Because I declare that to be uncivilized. Now, I think that male circumcisions, even in modern Western facilities, are uncivilized. I think that they're unnecessary, they are retarded, they have no medical benefits of any substantial quality, unless someone has phimosis, and then you don't even need to remove the entire foreskin. You just make a small incision. That's literally all you have to do. You don't have to do anything else. With females, it's even more invasive. Again, if you want to get a labiotomy or something like that, you've got big, puffy pussy lips and you don't like them for some reason. By the way, no dude actually gives a shit. 99% of them, unless they're fucking homos or something, then that's perfectly fine. But you need to be an adult to be able to make that decision now, don't you? They don't offer that to men. They don't offer that to boys. Copium. Nah, if they come from a country of savages, it's safe to assume everyone there is a savage, and for our national security, they should be treated as such. Arguably better than the alternative, which is come all ye faithful. I'm more in line with you now than I was maybe 10 years ago on such issues. But I've always been against male circumcision too, unless it is with informed consent. This is Mike. The percentage of dickheads in the Rumble chat is far lower than on YouTube. Thanks, guys, and fuck y'all over on YouTube. Oh, come on, some of these people are really nice. Copium poppies. If someone from a country with large amounts of inbreeding wants to come to the US, it's not unreasonable to expect them to get fixed so we know they aren't spreading their inbred genes in our country. Well, it would no longer be inbreeding, though, if they fucked somebody in the country that was exsanguinous, so to speak. So let's say somebody did do some cousin loving or something like that in their past, their kid comes to the United States. Maybe they're a little bit messed up. Dude, I have British heritage. Look at my fucking teeth, for example. There's probably some inbreeding in the family. Just saying. It's probably likely. And it's funny as fuck. Yeah, at some point, some of my ancestors might have been first cousins or some shit. Who knows? And who cares, by the way? I love self-deprecation. I like talking about how I could whip my dick out right now and start beating off on cam live, but I would never get banned because nobody would see anything. Humor. It's something that I don't believe people who don't have the ability to insult themselves. Just saying. If you don't have the ability to joke about yourself, instinctually I will distrust you. Just saying. Yet my proud English teeth and small peepee. Cam2425, hey, you will not beat off on me, sir. Yeah, I wouldn't get banned, though, because, I mean, there'd be no nudity at all. Where's the dick? It's 2 pixels wide. I mean, it's actually an average dick, but the thing is, you're supposed to be able to joke about these things with people. Especially on a live stream. Some people will not joke about themselves at all. I've actually had this criticism about Trump on multiple occasions. Albeit like a comedy roast sort of thing, where, you're supposed to, crack jokes and shit. But he never really cracks jokes about himself. And I don't really like that, because it'd be so funny. There's so much good fodder. And you would take all these morons unaware. If you start joking about yourself and your Yeti pubes and stuff like that, it would be hysterical. You don't even understand what a gift you've been given. Copium, but they're already inbred. We don't need more inbreds. But they wouldn't be inbred if they mated with somebody from an entirely different country. That's the point. We should only be accepting the healthiest and smartest from other countries, given that immigration has already caused enough problems for us. Well, then you wouldn't have any immigrants from Somalia. I think the average IQ there is below 70, if I remember correctly. It's not that I hate the Somali community. It's that I think that the government there is terrible. People are fundamentally fucked up there because the country doesn't even really have a centralized government of any sort. Technically it does. There's a national anthem and a building, heavily guarded of course, in which the government operates, but they can't control the fucking country. They're not capable of it. They don't have the firepower. Kenya, more than anyone else, is controlling the situation. The Kenyans have effectively invaded Somalia because they're the only ones that have the manpower necessary and the technological capability to actually maintain order at all. Even then, you've got pirates, and not the cool kind of pirates, not the kind that wear tricorn hats and leather jackets and carry cutlasses. Unfortunately, that era of piracy is over. At least for now. No, now you got dudes with deck guns and stuff like that on speedboats. Also, please send no more super chats. We're going up on an hour, and I do actually have to go shopping at some point. I need some ingredients for the food. I need scallions more than anything else. Yeah. Copium poppies. They have inbred genes. We would be watering down our own gene pool. Yeah, but they get uninbred if they are exogenous, so to speak. Chuck Morris. Pho is Vietnamese, by the way. Or pho. Pho, pho, pho. Everyone knows what I mean. Nobody cares. Fragile Wolf. People being inbred with butter and jam. Haha. My Dixie Racked sticks on Champlain in a rowboat with an RPG. That sounds like some great fun. Although I'd prefer a deck gun rather than an RPG. Denayu, hey, I'm on day 2 of a migraine. Fucking that sucks. I've never had a migraine, come to think of it. I almost never get headaches. When I was younger, when I was a kid, they had me on Ritalin, and I got headaches all the fucking time. Since I stopped that, I don't really think I've maybe a couple of times had a headache. I don't know. I've checked my blood pressure and pulse and things like that repeatedly, and I'm always in the low end for blood pressure. Even after I pound myself with drugs and caffeine and things like that, it barely raises up to the normal level. So, I mean, I think I might have accidentally become immortal or something. That could be a real problem, by the way. Imagine you try to off yourself, but, you find out that you can't even die. And be like, oh, well, shit. That would be funny. That would be a good idea for a morbid story. Yeah. Some person accidentally becomes immortal, and then they're just despondent and in despair and stuff. They try it off themselves, but nothing they do works. And so in the end, they just, basically they're locked into their own living hell because they can't die. Then they slowly get older and older and turn into a mummy, and they're just crouched in the corner, unable to die or something. I've actually thought about that. If you assume certain spiritual theories, theoretically speaking, because of the progression of time, you will never die. If Matrix theory, not Matrix theory, if string theory is true, technically, every time that you kill yourself, you simply jump to another timeline. You're not even aware that you killed yourself. You can try it over and over and over again, but you'll never actually die. It means that you'll live forever. So as you approach your death, you just die more and more often. Eventually, you're reduced to a lich or a mummy or something like that. A pain worse than any death could possibly be. Interesting theory. I don't happen to subscribe to it, but it's still fun to talk about. Mean Gene extra mean. I'm the captain now. Look at me. I am the captain now. Yeah, eventually you would become nothing more than a lifeless shroud, but you'd still be alive. You would slowly degrade over time, faster and faster, with deaths coming and going first every minute, then every second, then every millisecond, to the point where you would blink out of existence eventually. You wouldn't even be self-aware. It would be a fate worse than any death. Keep in mind, that might actually be what happens when you die. Joe, type 3 is the sewn up one in Somalia. I thought that was type 4. Also, the reason why the stream is about circumcision, adding that to my list of accomplishments for my obituary. Yeah, I thought type 4 was the sewn up part. I thought it was, type 1 is basically just an outer labiotomy, so it's a reduction of the outer labia. Type 2 is the reduction of the outer labia and the debriding of the hood over the clitoris. Type 3, if I remember correctly, was also the removal of the inner labia, and usually the removal of the clitoris entirely, and then type 4 is the removal of everything and the sewing up. There's actually porn of people who have had level 4, circumcisions online. I don't recommend bothering to look them up, because it's like, what the fuck? Yeah, no, this is clearly a standard of civilization. If you use 4chan long enough, you might see some of that shit. Parlock. In the Middle Ages, Tim Walz would be flayed. In the Middle Ages, he'd probably be some sort of retarded feudal lord. He looks like the fucking Pillsbury Doughboy, dude. That 1X account. Ew, just why? Religion. Religion is a pile of bullshit. Spirituality is real. There are various forms of it and various opinions. But organized religion is a cancer in this world. An absolute cancer. And it needs radiotherapy very badly. There's a song by Tadnis called Nuke Mecca for a reason. Sir, 1995, what state do you live in? Vermont, actually. Tarred and feathered. Styx has never performed these procedures. He only read the manuals. Well, since they do it with a razor blade, usually, there's no manual that needs to go along with it. They just start cutting, basically. It's grotesque. I mean, it's unsafe. We can call something uncivilized, can't we? Can we be honest and acknowledge that this is barbarism? It's savagery. I didn't think that we needed to be so politically correct that we would not condemn taking a small girl barely in puberty, holding her down and cutting off her clitoris. I don't understand even where the practice came from, actually. Some sort of weird cultural convention. I'm imagining Somali men just have small penises, and so they have to sew up the vagina so it's tighter, or something like that. because otherwise they can't get off. Either that or they're imagining a boy's asshole when they're doing it. That's always possible, too. Yeah, they seem to like that. It's, I mean, come on. Anyways, I'm gonna go offline now. I have to go to the store to purchase some sundry goods, as it were. I will be back tomorrow with more news. Then we can talk about the Patriots absolutely ass-blasting the Jets. Sorry, Jets fans. I'm so sorry that your team sucks. Anyways, yeah, I'll let you go now, and I will be back tomorrow. That's about all. Peace out.